It is the end of the year, which means it's Game of the Year time. And we here at ABC Gamer, we reckon Game of the Year is just a rung and not a single title. So we're counting down to our top 5 games of the year for 2023. My name's Harry, and my 2023 Game of the Year is The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Yup! Yup!
But you are not alone.
Link, you are our final hope.
TOTK deserves GOTY. Why? Because out of all the games that came out in 2023, Tears of the Kingdom straight up tore through the video game burnout that I've been feeling for the last couple of years and reminded me why video games, they're meant to be silly and fun. So much of Tears of the Kingdom is about letting the player muck around and have fun, and it's so easy to lose sight of how monumental that is in a AAA franchise like Zelda. Let's start with traversal. Breath of the Wild was showered with praise and accolades for its impressive take on open world games. Traversal was meaningful and well paced and scaled so well. You'd be able to climb, glide and travel by mount, which isn't groundbreaking, but what Zelda does so well is fill the world with these points of interest that make all of those traversal options fun. Then Tears of the Kingdom comes in and it was all like, yeah. What if we did all of that, but with experimentation? The Ultra Hand and Zonai devices have got to be the best addition to an open world game ever. The first time I made a little hot air balloon to ascend a mountain was the best. I was running around and saw a flame emitter Zonai device and the balloon Zonai device, and I thought, surely not. Then, a couple of zaps later, I was a hot air balloon pilot. Or how about the first time it shows you that you can play around with the physics of the world? In one of the starting Sky Islands, you're given a wooden platform and a hook, and the only thing connecting the two Sky Islands together is a single rail. So, of course, you got to glue the platform to the car to get you to the other side. One of the reasons why the experimentation of TOTK pushes it to GOTY status is that it gives you enough space to tackle the same puzzles and problems with different solutions. Which rules? Chatting about solutions and strategies with mates is way more fun. Like when I was going through the depths for the first time, I was just throwing those little light plant things every so often and navigating as I went. I didn't realize that you can fuse a light plant onto an air bike and have a convenient little light wherever you were. It's so good that the game lets you do stuff like that and then gets you excited enough to tell your friends about it. Now, experimentation isn't just limited to traversal and puzzles. Tears of the Kingdom lets you experiment with fusing abilities with weapons that make combat that much more fun. The first time I fused a horn to an arrow and it did a little bit of extra damage, I was like, well, okay, it's pretty cool. But then I ran into my first puff shroom. When I hit it, I realized it released a spore cloud that hides you, and I thought, this would be sick to throw, like a little smoke bomb. Then I realized it activates by hitting and thought, oh damn, what if I fused it to a shield? That's how I stumbled across one of the most fun ways to hide from enemies and get free sneak attacks. Also, it gets pretty silly, like when you fuse a spring to your shield and then when you're guarding that hit it, they just go absolutely flying. It's so fun. The experimentation is drip fed throughout the game, so the more you play, the more you're able to experiment. Slowly you discover newer tools and resources that will mix in with other tools and resources, and by the end of the game, you've got such a big pool of toys to muck around with that you're always finding new ways to scale mountains and kill baddies. My favorite is rigging a platform onto a stabilizer to fling baddies away. Like, what other game lets you make death machines like that? This all feeds into the other parts of the game, like the boss battles and shrines and dungeons. Take the water temple boss for example. It's this yuck creature that slops this disgusting muck around that slows you down. You know that you can wash it away with water, and there are so many ways to get water splashing around. You can fuse an opal to a weapon and shoot balls of water around, or you can get a Zonai hydrant, turn it on, pick it up and hose it all down. Or you can attach it to your shield and have a water hose spew water anytime you get your shield out. Or you can fuse it to a boomerang and have water spiral out as it flies through the air. Game of the year. Day one game of the year. Visually, Tears of the Kingdom is stunning too. I could go on about the million cinematic moments, like that first time you leap from a sky island into a pond, or that Tulin of Rito village quest where you're gliding from floating ship to a massive sky ship that turns out to be the Wind Temple. My favourite thing is the visual style they went with for the Zonai devices. I love how it draws from like multiple cultural elements, from the Aztec geometric patterning to the jade green crystal blocks. Environmentally, there's so much variety. One moment you're leaping between floating chunks of Sky Island, the next you're plumbing the depths full of skelly horses and spindly towers. Every environment is full of something fun to look at and explore. And the way the story in Tears of the Kingdom unfolded was just super fun too. The search for Zelda worked really well with the open world approach this time, and I loved piecing together what really happened to her. This time I really felt like they wanted the story to be something you discover piece by piece and gave you a ton of options to unfold it. It felt like a chatterbox way of telling a story where even though there was a set story, it was up to you which way you go about it. Typically, open world games are plagued with fatigue and choice paralysis, sometimes feeling like two little Vegemites spread across a dining table sized piece of toast. Now, Tears of the Kingdom manages to cram heaps of fun stuff in all these little nooks and crannies and gives you the option to go buck wild. It's so good. Now, Game of the Year can't just be an excellent game. It's got to be a game that you talk about. It's got to be a game that you talk about for years, and Tears of the Kingdom is exactly that. I mean, I'm still ranting about the psycho water hydrant boomerang thing. Game of the Year. Game of the Year. Game of the Year.